As you can see from all of my social media, for anyone that follows me on Instagram, Twitter, this is not clickbait. Cycling Maven has come to an end after nearly 10 years of doing it. 5 years doing vlogs and about 5 years of writing articles. And I'm going to explain my rationale in this vlog and why I've decided to make this decision, and we'll go from there. It has been a long time coming. I've been talking about doing this with my mates, my closest friends, and Hannah, for how long now? 2-3 years?
Not that long, but yeah, a good 18 months, I reckon. Maybe longer.
Hannah always calls me out on bullshit, man. Like you do, don't you?
That's right, you know I speak the truth.
She calls me out like she speaks the truth. There's no exaggerating. But essentially, yeah, for a long time I've been talking about changing it just to my name. And the reason for that is I find Cycling Maven, the cycling part of the Maven, quite restrictive in my content. You know, I want to create videos. I love making videos, but I'm finding that I'm feeling guilty.
Cycling doesn't define you.
Yeah, as Hannah said.
A whole heap of other aspects to you, and you have a whole heap of other interests. Like, at the end of the day, you're actually not a cycling frother.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, I do love cycling, don't get me wrong. I've been racing bikes and riding bikes since I was 11 years old, really. Since I was in year 6, my dad bought me my first bike.
So I think the important thing to remember is why you started the vlog. And you started the vlog because you became interested in making videos. And you made videos about what you were doing at the time. And at the time, you cycle, that's one of your interests. And so it just became this Cycling Maven when the reason you started it, at the core of it, was to make videos.
Yeah.
And you know, if you had been interested in CrossFit at the time, it could potentially would have been the CrossFit Maven.
That's right.
You know, but it was what you were doing at the time.
It was what I was doing at the time.
You kind of fell into it.
There's more to us and me and us as a little squad fam than cycling. It's just as simple as that.
And you know, I think as well, what's contributed to like this anxiety and depression that you briefly spoke about is, yes, Jack's been born and there's that extra responsibility, but you feel this immense pressure, and you have for so long, about this vlog and having to, you know, have cycling and revolve, and you don't even want to, you know, half the time you don't even want to get out and go on the bike, but you feel this pressure like, oh, I have to, or you're letting people down.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be really freeing for you.
Yeah. Mate, Hannah, I don't even need to talk. Hannah knows it. Hannah knows all.
I've lived the struggle.
She's lived the struggle. All right, legends. So further to what Hannah was saying, I really want to give you guys a good understanding as to why I've come to this decision. So very quickly, the history of Cycling Maven is that we started it in 2000. I started in 2009. I started it as a blog, and I was writing blog posts, and I really wanted to. I've been racing, as I said, for 30 years, so I wanted to share my knowledge about cycling and help other cyclists. And so it was actually Wade from Cycling Tips who got me. I sort of messaged him and rang him up, and he inspired me to get into it. And so we actually spent a lot of time together. We used to ride together, talk about writing blog posts and stuff like that. And he sort of led me into what I was doing. And I went to the 2010 Tour Down Under, and that was my first foray into pro cycling, and it was quite an intimidating experience. But I remember I met up with a guy, I think his name was Jamie, and it was Cycle Sport News. Anyway, he had a camera, and so we were running around interviewing the pros in the before the race amongst the caravans, and the caravans back then were hire cars really. And I was meeting people like Cadell Evans, who was world champion at the time, Lance Armstrong, Johan Brunel, Cameron Meyer was there. Julian Dean was racing. I interviewed Jonathan Cantwell in the foyer. So I interviewed all these pros, and I was getting and I loved it, and I loved the video side of things.
All right, we're here with Cadell. He's missed out on the coffee run. It's on his way. That's better. Before stage one, he's not going to fall asleep.
But after the 2010 Tour Down Under, I got a job in surgical device sales, and I couldn't let it go because it was good money and it was a good job. So I did that for about 4 years. And then I sort of came back to Cycling Maven more as a YouTuber. And I started racing again. I gave up CrossFit, and I started making tutorials in how to race and how to win races. And I started winning B-grade races. And I was doing these GoPro tutorials in basically how to win a race. And that was quite scary at the time because no one was doing it. Not that I know of. I think I was the first person narrating GoPro footage of criteriums. And I remember putting that first video out, that very first video of when I won the bike race, and I narrated the footage, and I put it out and I pressed publish. And it was the scariest thing I'd ever done because I was setting myself up for being picked on and trolls, and it was really scary. And I was refreshing the screen every 5 minutes just to go, does anyone encourage me? Does anyone think this is good? Because to suddenly have some guy, who's a nobody, I mean, I was never a pro cyclist, narrating footage and instructing people how to race was a bit risque. So I did that for a little while, and those videos were actually quite popular. And so the channel started growing and it started taking off, and I started Googling other YouTubers, and there was Casey Neistat and a few other people who were doing daily videos. And I was like, well, unless I'm doing daily content, I'm not really going to take this channel to the next level. So I thought, okay, how can I create daily content? I mean, obviously I can't win a bike race every day. So I started vlogging, and I started doing these vlogs, and I started introducing Hannah. And that went on. I created, my first 100 vlogs, and I was doing those pretty regularly, pretty much every day. And if it wasn't every day, it was every second day. But the problem with that is that once you start spending a lot of time making videos and doing YouTubing, then your cycling fitness starts to deteriorate because you're not cycling enough. And a lot of people don't understand that when you do these videos, you're spending 4 to 6 hours editing the videos, plus all the time it takes to find the music, plus all the metadata that goes on behind the scenes. So it was a lot of work, and I was really compromising my relationship at the time because it was quite stressful on Hannah. She wasn't spending a lot of time with me. It was like, where is my boyfriend? And so I started doing these less and less. And what actually happened was I realized that my passion was cycling, but also I was gaining a passion for videography and creating videos. And so this passion was shifting from cycling to videography, and it has done gradually over the past few years. And I always sort of, as the channel grew and as more people came to the channel, I realized that when I'd talk with people about my cycling channel, I'd say, I do YouTube and I do this cycling channel. Anyone who wasn't into cycling, if you weren't into cycling, you were not going to watch the Cycling Maven because it's a cycling channel. In the back of my mind, and I was saying to mates at the time, I really want to change my name to either Maven or Mark Ferguson or something like that. Like, obviously you got Peter McKinnon, you got Casey Neistat, a lot of big YouTubers that I know have their name, are using their name. Shane Miller uses his name, Cameron Jeffers, so Francis Cade. So I always wanted to transition to my name. And that was a difficult decision to make because I'd built this, imagine all the SEO, and I've built this brand, Cycling Maven, and people call me Maven. My nickname prior to this was Fergie. Everyone used to just call me Fergie. Now everyone, even my best mates, call me Maven. So I got mates that ring me up and call me Maverick, Maven, Maverick. So it was hard, it was a really hard thing. And I think what happened is Hannah and I went to the 2017 Grand Tours, optimistic that we were going to grow the channel. And it turned out that I think since March 2017 to now, and I haven't looked at the stats, but I don't reckon I've gained 5,000 subscribers. And I think what that's indicative of is my lack of enthusiasm for both cycling and creating cycling content. And I also found that people weren't that interested in the Grand Tours, and I think it was a bit of a mistake. I think looking back in retrospect, what people watched my channel for was me riding around Melbourne, which is a really interesting place to ride a bike, and the racing scene in Melbourne and stuff like that. Whereas at the time, I sort of anticipated the Grand Tours, the pro cycling scene was where I needed to go to and showcase to grow my channel. And I was really mistaken in retrospect. What it also did going to the Grand Tours was it also burnt me out. It really, I have it, you know, I mean, I grew up back in the days in 1989, I watched Greg LeMond win the Tour de France. Through those late 80s, I used to watch Bernardino. I mean, I was a cycling frother back then. Even in the early 2000s when Lance Armstrong was big, I was madly passionate about cycling. But, you know, going to the Grand Tours and realising and seeing it in the flesh, and I don't want to burst anyone's bubble who's really getting into cycling now, but it left a real sour taste in my mouth, the whole experience. There are some great cycling. I mean, I love Matty Heyman. He's a beautiful human. He was always very friendly to us, and there are other pros that I have a lot of time for. But there's a lot of people within the road cycling scene who I just never want to have anything to do with ever again. And I found it a very toxic environment. And I find road cycling in general, when I compare road cycling to mountain biking and to maybe gravel riding and stuff, the communities in each of these, you know, the mountain biking and the gravel, they're quite friendly and you come in and quite inviting. Whereas road cycling, I just find repulsive and toxic, if I'm completely honest with you. And so my disdain for cycling, and particularly road cycling, over the past year, 18 months, has just been increasing. I've been back on the bike now training for, I would say, probably 8 weeks, and pretty consistently. I've been, you know, getting up 3-4 times a week during the week in the morning and riding. And you know what? I am not jumping out of bed. The passion is just not coming back. So I think the best thing that I can do is get away from cycling altogether on my vlog. As Hannah said, I will. For the interim, I'm going to keep doing the vlogs as per normal. Nothing really is going to change with the actual content. It's just that the name's changed. But I will still include cycling in my vlogs. And you know what? The truth is, I still do like cycling. Like tomorrow morning, I'm going and doing the Dandenongs with a few crew. So I'm still going to be doing cycling. It's just that I'm not going to be obligated or feel obligated to record it and post it on YouTube. And every video that I make from now on, I can make a tutorial on how to edit a video. I can make tutorials on how to set up your camera so that you get the best settings for, you know, high action footage at cycling or whatever. I can do anything I want now on the channel and I can take the channel in any direction I want to take it, and I don't have to feel obligated to sticking to cycling. And we also found that, you know, while we've got a very committed, loyal fan base at the moment, we did have a lot of trolls who were saying, you know, if I went on holidays, it'd be Holiday Maven. If I went for a run, it'd be Running Maven. And so people were constantly criticizing us for not putting cycling content up, which was another frustration. You know, I remember Troy Clark said to me about the Indy Pack 2017 when I did the Indy Pack, and we sat down, we had a coffee, and he said, you know what? You wouldn't be doing this Indy Pack if it wasn't for Cycling Maven. And I've since had a chat with him about that statement because it stuck with me for a long time. And he's right. He really is right. I did want to ride across Australia, and I definitely, that's something that I wanted to do. But I think one of the main drivers was the fact that I have a cycling YouTube channel. And I think a lot of my decisions are based around the YouTube channel, and will this be good for the YouTube channel, and will I grow the YouTube channel? And I think that was the wrong way to approach it. And I think this moving forward is going to be mentally where I need to be. I've spoken to you guys in the past about how since Jack's been born, I've been suffering from quite severe anxiety and depression. And I think this has a lot to do with it. And this is a massive load off my shoulders. I feel better about it already. I will do another video at some stage on anxiety and depression and how I've been dealing with it. And it is very normal. A lot of people, man, there is a lot of people dealing with anxiety and depression at the moment at various intensities. And it's okay. It's okay to feel that way. But that's a video. That's another discussion for another time. What I want to do say is, please hang around, guys. I don't want to look at my subscribers and, everyone to leave. I would like it all to hang around, see what I'm going to do and see what I come up with for the future. And hopefully some of you guys can learn, from these tutorials I do. Some of you are going to leave, but I want to thank you all up for being there with me, for being part of the Kickstarter, those that were part of the Kickstarter for the 2017 Grand Tours. Yes, I want to thank my Patreon supporters for your support. You guys are absolute legends. I've been able to buy camera equipment. I bought a gimbal back there thanks to my Patreon supporters. But I am going to keep the Patreon going, so thank you to the Patreon supporters if you want to hang around and support my content moving forward. And that's the end of the video, legends. You are cracking humans. You're forever cracking humans. And here's a little bit of a montage of just random stuff that Cycling Maven's been about over the past 5 years.